On my 73rd birthday, my husband walked through the door with another woman and her 2 children. "This is my second family," he said. "They're moving in." What he didn't know? I'd been planning for this moment for 3 years. My name is Margaret, and I'm 73 years old. I live in Charleston, South Carolina. And what I'm about to tell you will make you believe in karma, because after 52 years of marriage, my husband thought he could replace me. He thought wrong. Before I tell you this story, I need to ask you something. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from. And please hit that like and subscribe button right now. This story is going to shock you, anger you, and then make you cheer. I promise. Let me take you back to March 15th, 2024, my 73rd birthday. I'd been married to Harold for 52 years. 52 years. We got married when I was 21 and he was 23. We raised 3 children together, built a life, a home, a future. Or so I thought. Harold and I met in college. He was studying business. I was studying education. We fell in love fast, got married young, and spent 5 decades building what I thought was a solid marriage. Our children are grown now. Michael is 50, living in California with his wife and 2 kids. Sarah is 48, a lawyer in New York, and David is 45, a teacher here in Charleston. Harold retired 5 years ago from his accounting firm. I'd been a high school English teacher for 30 years before I retired at 65. We were supposed to be enjoying our golden years, traveling, spending time with grandchildren, growing old together. But 3 years ago, I noticed something change. Harold started going out more, meeting old college friends, he'd say, networking lunches, golf with the guys. He bought new clothes, started working out, dyed his gray hair. At 70, he suddenly cared about looking young again. I asked him about it once. "Harold, is everything okay? You seem different." "I'm just trying to stay healthy, Maggie." That's all. Maggie. He'd called me Maggie for 50 years. It was his name for me, only him. But I knew something was off. A wife of 52 years knows. So I did what any smart woman would do. I started paying attention. I noticed he was on his phone constantly, texting, smiling at the screen, hiding it when I walked into the room. I noticed he started showering before bed instead of in the morning, coming home smelling like perfume that wasn't mine. I noticed our joint bank account had several large withdrawals. When I asked, he said it was for investments. And I noticed he stopped looking at me the way he used to, stopped touching me, stopped saying I love you. For 2 years, I watched my marriage die slowly. And I said nothing, because I was gathering evidence. I hired a private investigator. His name was Tom, former police detective, now working private cases. "Mrs. Patterson," Tom said when we met. "Are you sure you want to know?" "I'm sure," I said. 2 weeks later, Tom came back with a folder. Inside were photos, dozens of them. Harold with a woman, younger, maybe 45, blonde, pretty. Harold kissing her in a parking lot. Harold holding hands with her at a restaurant. Harold with her and 2 children, a teenage boy and girl, at the park. Playing like a family. Tom laid out more documents. Her name is Vanessa. She's 46, divorced. 2 kids, ages 16 and 14. She works as a dental hygienist. They've been seeing each other for 3 years. 3 years. I sat there staring at those photos, my hands shaking. "There's more," Tom said quietly. "He's been supporting her financially. I tracked the withdrawals. He's given her over $200,000 in the last 3 years. For rent, car payments, her kids' private school tuition. My money, our retirement savings, gone." "And Mrs. Patterson?" Tom continued. "He's been telling her that you're just roommates, that the marriage has been over for years, but you won't leave the house, that he's waiting for the right time to divorce you." I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. "Do you want to confront him?" Tom asked. "No," I said quietly. "Not yet. What do you want to do?" I looked at those photos, at this woman who thought she could take my husband, at my husband who thought he could throw away 52 years like they meant nothing. "I want to be smart," I said. "I want to protect myself. And when the time is right, I want him to regret ever thinking he could replace me." Tom smiled. "Then let's make a plan." Over the next year, I worked with Tom and a lawyer named Patricia Chen. We documented everything, every affair expense, every lie, every dollar he'd stolen from our joint accounts. I quietly moved money into a separate account Harold didn't know about. Money I'd inherited from my mother years ago. Money that was legally mine alone. I gathered documents, deeds, bank statements, investment portfolios. And I waited. I played the perfect wife. I cooked his favorite meals. I smiled when he came home late. I never asked questions, and Harold had no idea I knew everything. Then came March 15th, 2024, my 73rd birthday. Our children had called that morning. Michael from California, Sarah from New York. David came by for coffee. "Where's Dad?" David asked. "Out running errands," I lied. Harold came home at 2 p.m. I was in the living room waiting. He walked in with a small bakery box. "Happy birthday, Maggie." Inside was a single cupcake. After 52 years of marriage, my birthday gift was one cupcake. "Thank you," I said, forcing a smile. "Listen," Harold said, sitting down. "I need to talk to you about something." "What is it?" He took a deep breath. "Maggie, I'm not happy. I haven't been happy for a long time. I think we should consider separating." I looked at him. This man I'd spent 52 years with, who I'd raised children with, who I'd built a life with. "I see," I said calmly. "When were you thinking?" "Well," he said, looking uncomfortable. "Actually, there's something else. I've met someone. Vanessa. She's very important to me. And she has 2 kids who need stability. So I was thinking, maybe she could move in here, with her kids, and you could find somewhere else to go." I stared at him. "You want me to move out of our house so your girlfriend can move in? It's for the best," he said. "You'll be happier somewhere smaller anyway. I'll help you find an apartment." "I see," I said. "And when is Vanessa planning to move in?" "Today, actually," he said. "They're outside in the car. I wanted to tell you first. Today, my birthday. He was kicking me out on my birthday." "Go get them," I said quietly. "Really?" He looked surprised, relieved. "You're okay with this?" "Bring them in," I repeated. He practically ran outside. A minute later, he came back with Vanessa and her 2 teenagers. Vanessa was everything I expected. Younger, prettier, dressed in tight jeans and a low-cut top. She looked at our house, my house, like she was already redecorating in her head. "Hi," she said, not quite meeting my eyes. "I'm Vanessa." "Margaret," I said. "Please sit down." They all sat, Harold next to Vanessa, the kids looking uncomfortable on the couch. "So," I said, folding my hands, "Harold tells me you're moving in today." "Yes," Vanessa said, gaining confidence. "Harold and I are in love, and honestly, it's time. He's been waiting so long for you to accept that the marriage is over." I smiled. "I see. And you think this house is big enough for all of you?" "Oh, it's perfect," she gushed. 4 bedrooms. Harold said you'd be taking 1 small bedroom and we'd have the master." I nodded slowly. "That's interesting. Tell me, Vanessa, did Harold mention who owns this house?" She laughed. "Well, he does, obviously." "Actually," I said, pulling out a folder I'd hidden under a magazine. "That's not quite true." I opened the folder and pulled out a document. "This house was purchased in 1985, but it's not in Harold's name. It's in mine, left to me by my mother in her will. Harold never owned any part of this house." The smile froze on Vanessa's face. Harold's face went white. "And Harold," I continued, pulling out more papers. "Did you tell Vanessa how you've been stealing from our joint retirement account to support her for the last 3 years?" "I didn't steal." $237,000, I said. "That's how much you took. I have every transaction documented. Every dollar you spent on her rent, her car, her kids' school. All of it marital assets used for an affair, which, according to my lawyer, is grounds for immediate divorce with you getting absolutely nothing." I stood up and walked to the door. "Tom, Patricia, you can come in now." The door opened. Tom, my private investigator, walked in with Patricia, my lawyer, and behind them, my 3 children. Michael, Sarah, and David stood in the doorway, looking at their father with disgust. "Surprise," I said. "It's my birthday party, and you're all invited to watch me take back my life." The silence in the room was deafening. Harold stood up, his face red. "Maggie, what is this? What are you doing?" "What I should have done 3 years ago when you started this affair," I said calmly. "But I wanted to be smart about it. So I waited. I planned. And now, on my 73rd birthday, I'm giving myself the best gift possible. Freedom from you." Vanessa looked between Harold and me, panic spreading across her face. "Harold, you said the house was yours. You said she was just living here temporarily until she found somewhere else." "He lied," Sarah said, stepping into the room. She was in her full lawyer mode now, sharp and fierce. "My father has been lying to both of you." Patricia stepped forward, extending a card to Vanessa. "Ms. Carter, I'm Patricia Chen, Mrs. Patterson's attorney. I recommend you get your own legal counsel immediately. Because the man you've been in a relationship with has been committing financial fraud, and you may be implicated as well. What? Vanessa's voice went shrill. I didn't know. Harold told me they were separated. He told me she knew about us. Did you really believe that? Michael asked, his voice cold. You thought a man would stay, legally married to someone for 52 years while openly dating you, and that was normal? Vanessa started crying. Her teenage daughter put an arm around her. Mom, I told you this felt wrong. I told you. Harold tried to take control. Everyone just calm down. Maggie, you're being dramatic. We can discuss this privately. We're done discussing things privately, I said. For 3 years, you discussed things privately with her. While I sat in this house thinking I was losing my mind, wondering why my husband suddenly hated me, wondering what I'd done wrong. My voice cracked slightly, but I steadied myself. I cooked your favorite meals while you texted her. I washed your clothes that smelled like her perfume. I smiled and played the dutiful wife while you stole our retirement money to pay for her life. David walked over and stood beside me, his hand on my shoulder. Dad, I can't even look at you right now. Son, you don't understand. I understand perfectly, David interrupted. You cheated on Mom for 3 years. You stole money. And then on her birthday, you tried to kick her out of her own house so your mistress could move in. What exactly am I not understanding? Harold's face twisted. Your mother and I haven't been happy for years. I deserve to be happy. At 70? Sarah snapped. You're 70 years old. Dad, you threw away 52 years of marriage, destroyed Mom, stole from your own family, and for what? A midlife crisis at 70? I love her, Harold shouted, pointing at Vanessa. You love not being old, I said quietly. You love feeling young again. You love playing house with a younger woman who makes you feel like you're not a retired accountant waiting to die. But love? Harold, you don't even know what that word means anymore. Patricia stepped forward again. Mr. Patterson, I'm serving you with divorce papers. I'm also filing a motion to freeze all joint accounts pending investigation of marital asset misappropriation. You have 24 hours to remove yourself from this property. If you're not gone by tomorrow at 5 p.m., we'll have the sheriff escort you out. She handed him a thick envelope. Harold took it, his hands shaking. You can't kick me out. I live here. No, I said. You don't. This is my house. It was always my house. You just lived in it, and now you don't anymore. Vanessa stood up, grabbing her kids. We're leaving. Harold, are you coming? Harold looked between us. Between his children's disgusted faces, my calm expression, and Vanessa's panicked one. Vanessa, wait. No, she said, her voice breaking. You told me she knew. You told me you were separated. You told me this was your house. Everything you told me was a lie. I was trying to protect you. You were using me, she screamed. And now I look like some kind of homewrecker when I didn't even know there was a home to wreck. She grabbed her teenagers and rushed toward the door. Her daughter shot Harold a disgusted look as she passed. You're pathetic. The door slammed behind them. Harold stood there, envelope in hand, looking suddenly very old and very small. 52 years, he said quietly. You're just throwing away 52 years? No, Harold, I said. You did that 3 years ago. I'm just making it official. Tom stepped forward. Mr. Patterson, I'm Tom Rivera. I've been documenting your affair for the past year on behalf of Mrs. Patterson. I have photos, financial records, GPS tracking data, and witness statements. I strongly suggest you cooperate with the divorce proceedings, because if this goes to court, you won't walk away with anything. You had me followed? Harold looked at me shocked. For a year, I confirmed. I know about every restaurant you took her to, every hotel, every lie you told, every dollar you spent. All of it is documented. All of it will be used against you. Michael shook his head. Dad, just go. You've embarrassed yourself enough. Where am I supposed to go? Harold asked, and for the first time he looked genuinely lost. The same place you were going to send Mom, Sarah said coldly. A small apartment. Figure it out. Harold stood in the middle of my living room, looking like a man who'd just realized he'd bet everything and lost. I need time, he said weakly. I can't just leave. Where will I go tonight? That's not my problem, I said. You had 3 years to think about where you'd go. I suggest you start calling hotels. Maggie, please. Can we just talk about this? Alone? I looked at him. Really looked at him. This man I'd spent 52 years with. And I felt nothing. No love. No hate, just exhaustion. Fine, I said. Everyone, give us 5 minutes. My children hesitated. Mom, are you sure? David asked. I'm sure. Wait outside. Reluctantly, they filed out. Patricia, Tom, and my children stood on the front porch, visible through the window. I turned to Harold. You have 5 minutes. Say what you need to say. He sat down heavily on the couch, his face in his hands. I don't know how this happened. I don't know how I got here. You got here by lying for 3 years. I know. But Maggie, you have to understand. I was feeling old, invisible, like my life was over. And then I met Vanessa, and she made me feel alive again. So you threw away our entire life because you felt old? I asked. Harold, we're both old. That's what happens when you live 70+ years. But instead of facing it together, you ran to someone younger and pretended you weren't. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry. For what? For the affair? For stealing our money? For trying to kick me out of my own house? For humiliating me? Which part are you sorry for, Harold? He looked up at me, tears in his eyes. All of it. I'm sorry for all of it. I was selfish. I was stupid. I was a coward. Yes, I agreed. You were. Is there any chance? No, I cut him off. Whatever you're about to ask, the answer is no. You won't even let me try to fix this? I sat down across from him. Harold, you can't fix this. You broke something that can't be repaired. You didn't just cheat. You planned to replace me. You were going to move her into my house and make me disappear like I never mattered. I wasn't thinking clearly. For 3 years? You weren't thinking clearly for 3 whole years? He had no answer to that. Here's what's going to happen, I said, my voice steady and calm. You're going to pack your things tonight. You're going to leave this house tomorrow. You're going to cooperate with the divorce. And in exchange, I won't press charges for the money you stole. Charges? $237,000 in marital assets used for an extramarital affair. I said, that's theft, fraud. My lawyer says we have a solid case. But I don't want to send you to prison, Harold. Despite everything, I don't hate you enough for that. He looked at me with something like hope. So you still care? No, I interrupted. I just don't want our grandchildren to visit their grandfather in prison. That's the only reason. The hope died in his eyes. Your children will probably never forgive you, I continued. Your grandchildren will grow up knowing what you did. Your reputation in this town is destroyed. Everyone we know will find out. And Vanessa? She's gone. She's not coming back, so you'll be alone. Maggie, please! I gave you 52 years, Harold. I gave you my youth, my middle age, and the beginning of my old age. I gave you 3 children. I supported your career. I made you a home. And you repaid me by trying to throw me away like garbage. I stood up. So no, I don't care. I don't hate you. I don't love you. I don't feel anything for you anymore. You're just a stranger who needs to leave my house. I walked to the door and opened it. My children came back in. Your 5 minutes are up, I said. Harold stood slowly, looking around the living room like he was seeing it for the first time. Or the last time. I'll come back tomorrow for my things, he said quietly. Tom will be here to supervise, I said. Make it quick. He walked toward the door, then stopped in front of our children. Michael, Sarah, David, I'm so sorry. I know I've disappointed you. I hope one day... Don't, Michael said, his voice hard. Just don't, Dad. Sarah turned her back on him. David stared at the floor. Harold looked at me one more time. Happy birthday, Maggie. And then he walked out. The door closed behind him. For a moment, we all just stood there in silence. Then David said quietly, Mom, are you okay? I took a deep breath. You know what? I actually am. And I was. For the first time in 3 years, I felt like I could breathe again. Sarah hugged me. Then Michael. Then David. We stood there in my living room, holding each other. I'm proud of you, Mom, Sarah said. That took incredible strength. I'm proud of me too, I said. And I meant it. Patricia cleared her throat. Mrs. Patterson, I need you to sign a few things. And we should discuss next steps. Can it wait until tomorrow? I asked. Today's my birthday, and I'd like to spend what's left of it with my children. She smiled. Of course. I'll call you in the morning. After Patricia and Tom left, my children and I ordered Chinese food. We sat around my kitchen table, the same table where I'd served thousands of family dinners over 50 years, and we talked. I can't believe you kept this secret for a year, Michael said. How did you not just confront him immediately? Because I wanted to be smart, I said. If I'd confronted him emotionally, he would have manipulated me, made me feel crazy, gaslit me. This way I had all the power. "You're a badass, Mom," David said. "Seriously." "Language," I said automatically, and they all laughed. "Mom, you just destroyed Dad in front of his mistress, and you're worried about—" "David saying badass?" Sarah teased. I smiled. Old habits. Around 10 p.m., my children left. They'd offered to stay, but I told them I was fine. I needed to be alone. I walked through my house, not our house, mine. Every room held memories, but they didn't hurt anymore. They were just memories. I went to bed that night in my own bedroom, my space, my sanctuary. And for the first time in 3 years, I slept peacefully. The next day, Harold came back with Tom supervising. He packed his clothes, his books, his personal items. He tried to talk to me twice. Both times I walked away. By 4 p.m., he was gone. I stood in the doorway watching him load boxes into his car. He looked back once. I didn't wave. The car drove away. And that was it. 52 years. Over. The first month after Harold left was strange. The house felt empty. Too quiet. For 52 years, I'd lived with someone else's presence. Their noise. Their habits. Their existence taking up space. Now it was just me. Some mornings I'd wake up and forget he was gone. I'd make 2 cups of coffee out of habit. Set 2 plates at the table. Then I'd remember. And I'd pour the second coffee down the sink. My children called every day. "Mom, are you okay? Do you need anything? Should we come visit?" "I'm fine," I'd tell them. And I was, mostly. The divorce proceedings moved quickly. With all the evidence Tom had gathered, Harold's lawyer advised him not to fight it. He signed everything Patricia put in front of him. The house stayed mine. The car stayed mine. Half our retirement savings stayed mine. The half he hadn't already spent on Vanessa. He got the other car, whatever was left in the joint account after his theft, and his personal belongings. Patricia called it the cleanest divorce I've ever seen. I called it justice. 6 weeks after Harold left, I ran into Vanessa at the grocery store. I was in the produce section examining tomatoes when I heard a voice behind me. "Mrs. Patterson?" I turned. Vanessa stood there with her shopping cart, looking smaller somehow, older, tired. "Hello, Vanessa," I said calmly. I wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. I didn't know you didn't know. I swear I didn't know. I looked at her. Really looked at her. She wasn't wearing makeup. Her hair was pulled back messily. She looked like a woman who'd been crying a lot. "Did Harold tell you I knew?" I asked. "Yes, he said you two had an understanding. That the marriage was over, but you stayed in the house because you had nowhere else to go. He made it sound like he was taking care of you out of obligation. And you believed him?" She looked down. I wanted to believe him. I was lonely, divorced, struggling to raise 2 teenagers alone. And Harold, he was attentive, generous. He made me feel special. "With my money," I said. "I didn't know it was yours." "I thought it was his. He paid for everything. My rent, my car payment, my kids' school. He said he wanted to take care of us. He did, with money he stole from our retirement." She started crying. "I'm so sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything. But I feel like such a fool." I picked up a tomato, examined it, put it in my basket. "You were a fool," I agreed. "But you weren't the villain here. Harold was. He lied to both of us." She wiped her eyes. "For what it's worth, he's miserable now. He calls me constantly, begging me to take him back, saying it was all a mistake. And what do you say? I blocked his number. I don't want anything to do with him. My kids hate him. I hate him. He destroyed both our lives." I nodded. "Good. You're smarter than I thought." We stood there in awkward silence for a moment. "I hope you find peace, Mrs. Patterson," Vanessa said quietly. "You deserve it." "I already have," I said. She walked away, and I went back to shopping. I felt nothing, no anger, no satisfaction, just indifference. That's when I knew I was truly free. 3 months after the divorce, I did something I hadn't done in decades. I traveled. Not with Harold, not with my children, just me. I booked a 2-week trip to Italy, something I'd always wanted to do, but Harold had never been interested in. Too expensive, he'd always said. Too much hassle. But now I could do whatever I wanted. I walked through Rome, ate pasta in Florence, rode a gondola in Venice, stood in museums staring at art that made me cry. I was 73 years old, traveling alone in a foreign country, and I had never felt more alive. On the flight home, I sat next to a woman around my age. Her name was Dorothy. We started talking. "Vacation?" she asked. "New beginning," I said. I told her everything. The affair, the birthday confrontation, the divorce. She listened, then smiled. Good for you. My husband died 5 years ago. And you know what I learned? Life doesn't end at 70. It just gets quieter. And sometimes quiet is exactly what we need. What do you do now? I asked. Everything I couldn't do when he was alive. I took up painting. I volunteer at an animal shelter. I joined a book club. I travel. I live. That sounds wonderful. It is, she said. And you know the best part? Nobody tells me what to do anymore. Nobody makes me feel small. I'm just free. Free. That word again. When I got home, my house didn't feel empty anymore. It felt peaceful. I started doing things I'd never done before. I took a painting class. Turns out I'm terrible at it, but I loved it anyway. I joined a book club at the library. We read books Harold would have hated. I volunteered at a women's shelter, helping women who were going through divorces, sharing my story, helping them find the courage to leave. I adopted a dog from the shelter, an old golden retriever named Buddy who'd been abandoned. We were perfect for each other. 2 old souls who'd been thrown away but still had life left in us. I redecorated the house, got rid of everything that reminded me of Harold. New furniture, new paint, new curtains. I made it mine. 6 months after the divorce, Sarah called me. Mom, I have news. Dad's in the hospital. My stomach dropped. What happened? Heart attack. Not major, but serious enough. He's stable now. But Mom, he's asking for you. I sat down. I see. You don't have to go, Sarah said quickly. I just thought you should know. I thought about it. Thought about Harold lying in a hospital bed. Alone. I'll go, I said. Really? Yes. Not for him, for me. So I can look him in the eye and know I did the right thing. The next day I drove to the hospital. Harold was in a private room. He looked small in the hospital bed. Old, gray, fragile. He looked up when I walked in. Maggie, you came. Sarah called me. I didn't think you would. I sat in the chair by his bed. How are you feeling? Like I'm dying, he said with a weak laugh. But the doctors say I'll live, unfortunately. Don't say that. Why not? It's true. My life is over, Maggie. I lost everything. My wife, my children. My grandchildren won't talk to me. I'm living in a 1-bedroom apartment eating frozen dinners alone. I'm 70 years old and I have nothing. I looked at him, and I felt pity, not love. Not hate, just pity. You did this to yourself, Harold. I know. Tears ran down his face. I know. And I'd give anything to take it back. Anything. But you can't. No, I can't. He reached for my hand. Maggie, I know I don't deserve it. I know I destroyed everything. But is there any chance at all, that someday you could forgive me? I pulled my hand back gently. Harold, I've spent the last 6 months learning how to live without you. And you know what I discovered? I'm happier now than I've been in years. I'm free. I'm myself again. I'm not waiting for you to come home. Not wondering if you still love me. Not shrinking myself to make you happy. I made you miserable, he said quietly. Yes, you did. For the last 3 years of our marriage, you made me feel worthless. And I stayed because I thought that's what love was. Suffering through. But I was wrong. I stood up. So no, I don't forgive you. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I don't hate you either. I just don't think about you anymore. That's worse than hate, he whispered. I know, I said. Goodbye, Harold. I walked out of that hospital room and I didn't look back. In the parking lot, I sat in my car and cried. Not for him. Not for our marriage. But for the woman I used to be. The one who thought she needed someone else to be whole. I cried for her. And then I let her go. 1 year after the divorce, it was my 74th birthday. This time, there was no Harold. No betrayal. No cupcake that represented 52 years reduced to nothing. This time, my children threw me a party. Michael flew in from California with his family. Sarah came from New York with her husband. David brought his wife and their 2 kids. My house was full of laughter. Grandchildren running through rooms. The smell of birthday cake. The sound of family. Make a wish, Grandma. My youngest granddaughter, Emma, shouted as they brought out the cake. I looked around at all of them. My children, my grandchildren, my family, my life. And I realized I didn't need to wish for anything. I already had everything I needed. I blew out the candles anyway. After everyone left, I sat on my back porch with Buddy at my feet, watching the sunset. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. But something made me pick up. Hello? Mrs. Patterson? This is Linda Chen. I'm calling from Hope House Women's Shelter. I heard you volunteer there and we have a situation. There's a woman here who just left her husband after 30 years. She's 70 years old. She's terrified. She has nowhere to go, and she won't talk to anyone. But when I told her about you, about your story, she asked if you could come. I looked at Buddy. He wagged his tail like he knew what I was about to say. I'll be there in 20 minutes. When I got to the shelter, Linda led me to a small room. Inside sat a woman with gray hair and red eyes. She looked up when I walked in. "Hi," I said gently. "I'm Margaret." "I'm Ruth," she whispered. "I don't know what to do. I just left my husband. After 30 years. Everyone thinks I'm crazy. My own children think I should go back, that I'm too old to start over." I sat down beside her and took her hand. "You're not crazy. You're brave. And you're not too old. I left my husband at 73, after 52 years of marriage." Her eyes widened. "You did?" "I did, and it was the hardest thing I've ever done, but also the best. But how do you start over at our age? How do you live alone after being with someone for so long?" "One day at a time," I said. "Some days are hard. Some days you'll cry. Some days you'll wonder if you made a mistake. But then you'll wake up one morning and realize you're not walking on eggshells anymore. You're not shrinking yourself. You're not afraid." "I'm so scared," she said, crying. "I know, I was too. But you know what? Being scared and being brave aren't opposites. You can be both at the same time." She gripped my hand tighter. "Do you regret it? Leaving?" I thought about the last year, the loneliness, the adjustment, the grief for what I'd lost. But then I thought about Italy, my painting classes, my book club, Buddy, the freedom to be myself. "Not for a single second," I said. We talked for 2 hours. I told her everything. The affair, the confrontation, the divorce, the rebuilding. When I finally left, she hugged me tight. "Thank you," she whispered. "You gave me hope." "You already had hope," I said. "You just needed someone to remind you." 2 months later, I got a letter in the mail. "Dear Margaret, you probably don't remember me, but we met at Hope House. I'm Ruth, the woman who was terrified to start over at 70. I wanted to write and tell you that I did it. I filed for divorce. I got my own apartment. I'm learning to live alone. And some days are hard, but some days are beautiful. But more than that, I wanted to thank you, because your story saved my life. It showed me that it's never too late, that age is just a number, that we don't have to accept being treated badly just because we've invested years. I'm sharing your story with every woman I meet who thinks she's too old to change her life. Because you proved it's possible. Thank you for being brave. Thank you for sharing your journey. Thank you for showing women like me that we deserve better, even at 70 plus. With gratitude, Ruth." I read that letter 3 times, tears streaming down my face, and I realized something profound. Harold had tried to throw me away on my 73rd birthday. He'd tried to erase me, replace me, make me disappear. But instead he'd set me free, free to be myself, free to help others, free to live the life I was always meant to live. And that was the best birthday gift I could have ever received. On my 75th birthday, I threw myself a party. Just me and my close friends. Women I'd met at book club. Women from the shelter. Dorothy, the woman I'd met on the plane to Italy. We sat around my dining table, my table in my house, and we celebrated. Not just my birthday, but all of us. Our survival, our strength, our refusal to be invisible. "To Margaret," Dorothy said, raising her glass, "who showed us all that it's never too late to take back your life." "To all of us," I corrected, "who refuse to shrink, who refuse to disappear, who refuse to accept less than we deserve." We clinked glasses, and in that moment, surrounded by women who understood, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Complete and total peace. Last month, I ran into Harold one more time. I was at the grocery store again. He was in line ahead of me, looking older, tired, alone. He saw me and his face lit up. "Maggie." "Harold, you look wonderful. Thank you. I've been wanting to call you. To tell you that I've been in therapy, working on myself, understanding what I did. And I wanted to say," "Harold," I interrupted gently, "I'm glad you're working on yourself. I really am. But I need you to understand something. I've moved on, completely, and I need you to do the same." His face fell. "So there's no chance?" "No, there's not. And there never will be. What we had is over. It's been over for a long time." He nodded slowly. "I understand. I hope you're happy, Maggie. I really do." "I am," I said. "Happier than I've been in years." And I was. He walked away, shoulders slumped, and I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, no regret. Just peace. Today I'm 76 years old. I've been divorced for 3 years. I live alone in my house with Buddy. I paint terrible paintings. I read books Harold would have hated. I travel to places he never wanted to go. I volunteer at the women's shelter every week, sharing my story with women who think it's too late to change their lives. I have coffee with Dorothy every Tuesday. We laugh about being old ladies living our best lives. My children visit often. My grandchildren call me their cool grandma. And I am free. Truly, completely, beautifully free. So if this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that it's never too late, if it showed you that age is just a number, and you deserve happiness at any stage of life, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories like this. And I want to hear from you in the comments. Comment, it's never too late. If you believe women can start over at any age, comment, she's my hero. If you think I did the right thing by choosing myself, because here's what I learned through all of this. You are never too old to choose yourself. You are never too invested in a relationship to walk away from one that hurts you. And you are never, ever obligated to accept being treated badly, just because you've been together a long time. Harold thought my 73rd birthday would be the day he erased me. The day he replaced me with someone younger, shinier, newer. But instead, it became the day I took back my life. The day I chose myself. The day I proved that women don't expire. We don't become worthless. We don't fade away. We get stronger, wiser, more powerful. And no man, no matter how many years you've given him, has the right to make you feel otherwise. So to every woman watching this who thinks she's too old to start over, too invested to leave, too tired to fight back, you're not. You're powerful beyond measure. And your best life might just be waiting on the other side of the hardest decision you'll ever make. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And thank you for believing that women deserve better at every age. Until next time.